Why does
Unless
everyone
you've been
love One
stuck in
Piece
Impel
now?
Down for the last few years, then you probably noticed that One Piece has kind of exploded in popularity. And yes, part of that is that manga sales are up and interest on the internet is at an all-time high, but we even have big names publicly supporting the series now, like Dua Lipa, Zion Williamson, Jamie Lee Curtis, and many, many others. And not to mention, it's getting a live action with the budget
I don't know about that guy. It was just swearing like anime shit, you know?
and many, many others. And
But yeah, that's cool to see that they
not to
support it.
mention, it's getting a live action with the budget of Game of Thrones that releases sometime later this year, and they've
That'll be
even
epic.
released their own trading card game. But the question is, why is One Piece getting all this hype in the first place? And just how big is this thing going to get? And I think that discussion has to start with the community that One Piece already has. I might be biased, but I think the One Piece community is really like none other. I mean, yes, it's the best-selling manga of all time and the second best-selling comic by a single author, but
I think it's a combination of, you know, One Piece being so good and having such an amazing story with like the amount of content, because there's so much content, like movies, manga, you know, so many episodes just themselves.
even right here on YouTube, we just completed the 11th annual Reverie with literally dozens of different creators. There are only so many stories that even last that long, let alone
Yeah.
provide enough content to have this many creators doing
That's
so
what I said.
well. I mean, One Piece started all the way back in the middle of 1997, and despite almost 30 years of consistent weekly chapter releases, we've still barely solved any of the biggest mysteries in the story. And if anything, Oda just gives us more questions than answers almost every single week. But that's kind of the beauty of One Piece, and at
I
least
feel like One Piece is written so well in a way that it can be dragged on forever if he wanted to. I don't think he, you know, the writer will do that. There's probably just going to be an end. But I feel like it's such a well done and thought out like writing that
mysteries in the story.
could do it
and if
forever if he wanted
anything,
to.
Oda just gives us more questions than answers almost every single week. But that's kind of the beauty of One Piece, and at least part of why it's continued to build such a massive following. And although we don't know exactly when it's going to end, we know that we're approaching its final saga. And when any story starts to reach its end, that always gives it a boost in popularity. I mean, think about what it was like during the final season of Game of Thrones, or how the sales exploded for Demon Slayer when it ended, or even in the realm of sports where the single most watched program of the year every year
I
is
feel like that's happens to everything, you know. It's the finale. Like you wanna be there. You wanna see that, you know.
sales exploded for Demon Slayer when it ended, or even in the realm of sports where the single most watched program of the year every year is always the Super Bowl. It's just that natural desire for people to see how things end, and with
Yeah.
One Piece inching closer and closer to that every week, the hype is only going to continue to build. And I think another reason why this is going to be a big deal
I think there's a lot of pressure on that though, because One Piece, arguably one of the biggest animes, if not the biggest animes out there, the longest, with a lot of fans. If it ends bad, you know, you can't have another ending. So
is because of the growing interest in manga and anime in general, and how new people are starting to give it a try every single day. I mean, Zion went as far to say that about 80% of NBA players are already into anime, but they just won't admit it. And look, I can kind of get that. Everyone that loves anime has probably been called a weeb at some point in time. I mean, I remember getting called a weeb when I pulled into Valvoline one time because of my car's Straw Hat decal. But I think as celebrities continue to come out in support of different anime and it keeps getting the marketing love that it's gotten lately here in the US, then it's naturally going to lead to more and more people to the biggest one, being One Piece. And when you couple that with the fact that this long journey is finally approaching the final saga, then who knows how big the community could be by the end. I mean, I talked about Zion earlier, but Rudy Gobert, who is another prominent NBA player, wore One Piece
Damn.
shoes during a game before. And
I thought they're just like wearing it to, you know, look cool, but I guess they actually do love it. Like they actually have like shoes and everything. That's cool. I like that. I respect
about
that.
Zion earlier, but Rudy Gobert, who is another prominent NBA player, wore One Piece shoes during a game before. And despite his struggles so far this season, Rudy isn't some scrub, he's a 3-time Defensive Player of the Year. And if you know anything about NBA players, they're really picky about their shoes, so it means a lot that you would wear those during a game. And it's not just basketball, because we even saw a Straw Hat flag during the World Cup and several
Nice.
One Piece poses during the Olympics. And switching sports over to football, which is the most popular sport here in the US, we even had the USC marching band play an entire halftime show devoted to One Piece film Red during their home opener. And if you don't know, USC is one...
I feel like definitely One Piece is a lot bigger in America than like European countries, for sure. That's probably why, you see that in sports.
The biggest football programs in the entire country. So there's a lot of people that were exposed to One Piece who probably never heard of it that day. And in the NFL, we've seen Jamal Williams, running back for the Detroit Lions, wear a custom One Piece thigh pad during a game. And he also loves Pokemon, if you haven't heard.
I just want to go home and play Pokemon.
And he's got Naruto.
Yeah.
And you know that the series has to mean a lot to these people for them to go out of their way to rep it like that in public. And that's what's so awesome to me. The community for One...
That was crazy, though. All the ads in one time. Like, that's crazy.
Piece is really just so strong, and when you meet a One Piece fan in public, it's like the ultimate icebreaker. Like it's a friend from high school or something, but instead of talking about your jobs and families, you ask about the ancient weapons and, robots with nipple lights. But one of the most common barriers to getting new people into One Piece is the length. And with at least 1,071 chapters and 1,040...
That's true. It can be a bit overwhelming to get into One Piece with that many episodes. Also, it's not like for everyone to have that amount of time to watch it. But I feel like once you get into it,
at least 1,071 chapters and 1,047 episodes adapted and counting, I can kind of understand why it feels daunting to people. But that's just another reason why all of this public support, either from athletes and celebrities or just us current One Piece fans, can go such a long way, as well as all the various ways that now exist to digest One Piece. And my favorite way is what's called One Pace. And in case you haven't heard of it, the amazing team at onepace.net has basically cut down all the filler and made the anime more true to the manga, and it actually cuts your entire watch time almost down by half, which is pretty crazy. So I definitely recommend that as a way to make the journey feel less daunting to new viewers. And not to mention, the dubbed version of the anime is finally in Wano after years and years of being hundreds of episodes behind, which to me is a sign in and of itself that they expect some serious growth in English-speaking countries sooner rather than later. But another way to watch One Piece is coming later this year, and that would be the live-action series on Netflix. Now, while we can all recognize that there have been some misses when it comes to live-action anime and misses on...
Hopefully they don't destroy it, because we know that, Netflix can sometimes, not be the best for the show.
Netflix in general, I can confidently say that if we were to ever have a good One Piece live action series, then the team and the investments behind it would look like the ones that are behind this series. Everything from the showrunners, the casting, the set pieces, and just the general fact that it has a similar budget to Game of Thrones all tell me that they have their heads in the right place and that they're up to the challenge. I mean, Matt Owens, co-showrunner and executive producer of the show, is a huge fan of the series, and he even joined us on the Reverie just a few days ago, and it isn't the first time he's done that. And he gave us a little bit of info about the live action too, so I'll leave a link to the whole VOD on Randy Troy's channel down below, and a summary video of his comments from Desna's the Dwarf. So with that being said, this provides another avenue to get more people into the story. I mean, Netflix still has over 200 million subscribers.
I feel like when it goes to Netflix, a lot more people that don't even know what anime is are gonna watch it. I feel like, right?
Around the world, and I imagine that there's a lot
of people that are not even interested in it.
Of people who are more willing to give the new big live action show a try than what they may see as just a 30-year-old cartoon series. I mean, I know my mom is in that boat for sure. And who knows, once they get to the end of the first season, new viewers may want to pick up the anime or check out the manga to see how the rest of things unfold. Or if not, that's totally fine, because what's important is that One Piece is finding new ways to reach new audiences, and that's only going to help it grow even more. But really, the catalyst for all the hype is the story itself, the meat and potatoes, if you will, and that's where One Piece really excels the most, in my opinion. And
One Piece has got such a great story, though, let's be honest.
2023 in particular could be a massive year for the story. I mean, the anime is only a few months from animating probably one of the biggest scenes in the entire story, and the manga itself has been subjectively and probably objectively fire over the last few months. And Oda even went as far to tell us that we should expect a free-for-all battle royale coming up soon. I mean, One Piece was already doing really well, but this might just be its biggest year yet, and that will only lead to a feedback effect where big events keep happening, then more people try try to get their friends into the series, more big names come out to support the series in public, then more big events happen in the manga, etc. And by the time we get to the very end, I think the community will be bigger than just about anyone expects. And while it may not be everyone's favorite series, it is a series that has something for everyone. Whether it's the lessons about found family, about freedom, or about anything in between, there are just so many lessons to learn from One Piece, and that's why it pulls so many people towards it. And that's
I think it's very relatable, right? A lot of people can relate to some of the stories, and there's a story for everyone in One Piece, right?
lessons to learn from One Piece, and that's why it pulls so many people towards it. And that's what led celebrities like these to support the series in public, and probably why many of you clicked on this video today. It truly is bigger than another manga or anime to most of its fans because of what it means to people. And despite my own fanboyism, I think it's fair to say the end of a story like One Piece is a once-in-a-lifetime thing. I mean, how many times will we get to see a global community celebrate one single story that has stretched across almost 30 years of time? One that has made this series the best-selling manga of all time. And while there
That's
are a lot
wholesome.
of things we all want to see by the end of the series, what most of us have been waiting for is the same goal that was set up in Chapter 1, and that is Luffy's goal to become the King of the Pirates. And having the opportunity to celebrate that moment with you guys is the biggest reason I became a creator in the first place, and I can't wait to see it all happen.